Spanning over 6,000 miles of desolate frozen earth, the Trans-Siberian Railway is seen today as a well-oiled machine that efficiently transports people and goods. But this was not always the case. The construction of such a railway was undertaken with blood, sweat, determination, and many fortunes. Plagued with problems and severely over budget, the Trans-Siberian Railway still remains one of the largest peaceful endeavors in modern history. In the late 1800s, Russia faced a serious problem controlling their vast country. Siberian revolutionaries were causing unrest, and Japan constantly threatened Russia's eastern coast. A solution was needed to strengthen control over Russia and develop the riches of Siberia. That solution was a railway linking all of Russia. In addition, Russia also wanted to be a modern industrial country. They were tired of being one step behind their European neighbors and thus at a disadvantage both economically and militarily. Looking to the West for inspiration, Russia hoped the railway would do the same for them as the Transcontinental Railroad did to develop the United States. Just as the United States tamed the once Wild West, it was Russia's turn to control Siberia and finally unify the country into one cohesive unit that could grow stronger together. However, Russia was not developed enough to build the longest railway in history over such a difficult land, but what the country lacked in industry, it made up for with the use of overwhelming manual labor. Russia's Tsar at the time, Alexander III, hired Sergei Vita, the man who built the 600-mile Odessa line. In Vita's words, the railway is like a leaven, which creates a cultural fermentation among the population. Even if it passed through an absolutely wild people along its way, it would raise them in a short time to the level requisite for its operation. In addition to Vita, future Tsar Nicholas II was appointed as chair of the Siberian Railway Committee and provided the political clout needed for success. With the right people in place, construction began on May 19, 1891. Controlled by a select few, Russia was about to be guided on a nationwide effort to complete a railway across Siberia. Although the praise and glory that came with building the railway went to the leaders, it was the men who built the railway in the most difficult condition who made it possible. Most of the workforce consisted of soldiers and convicts. Although getting the two groups to work together turned out to be an issue, with the soldiers saying it was a shocking insult to their uniform to work alongside the jailbirds. There was no dynamite or mechanical shovels. Everything was dug and tunneled by hand. The men were forced to work long hours in the blistering cold, and during the summer billions of Siberian gnats would drive most normal people insane. Weak pack animals were slaughtered and made into soup for the workers. Lumber was very plentiful, but steel and other materials had to be shipped to the location. The extreme cold and short days slowed progress in the winters, and the permafrost had to be melted with huge bonfires. On many locations, the surveyors never bothered to actually survey the land, and workers would find that the rivers were a lot wider due to snow melting in the spring. The railway was built in 6 sections simultaneously to save time. Despite the primitive tools, about 373 miles of track was laid a day during the height of construction. Severely over budget, the rationale was the faster the railway could be completed, the sooner it could make money and pay off the debt. These shortcuts included using 2,000 railway ties per mile instead of the standard 3,000. Combined with the extreme weather, working on the railway proved dangerous, and on average 10 people died for every river crossing. In an effort to get the railway operational faster, it was decided that the last 200 miles around Lake Baikal would not be built, and instead a train ferry would be made. After years of delay, it turned out to be a colossal failure, and the ship couldn't break through the thick ice during the winter. The ferry was abandoned a year later, and the expensive route around Lake Baikal began construction. With over 38 tunnels through the granite mountainside, it was the most expensive stretch of track. Nearly 14 years after the start and 50 miles of bridges later, the project was complete. However, Japan attacked shortly after the accomplishment, and the shortcuts taken when building the railway became apparent. Bridges broke under the heavier loads of the troop trains, and the slow speeds required on the poorly made rail made moving troops very inefficient. The war ended in defeat, and much of the railway had to be rebuilt. In retrospect, the goal to help modernize Russia, develop trade, and build Siberian cities was only partially realized. The railway had not been the savior Russia needed, and ended up depleting the treasury and causing more unrest.